Welcome to Crimson Guitars. Now, this guitar has been in progress for way too long. Through the move to the new workshop, and all of the hell and chaos that implies. But we're at the stage where I'm going to start putting it together in hardware and bits and pieces. Now, you've all seen many videos, hopefully, if you haven't, go and watch them, of us doing fret work and repairs and restorations and fret relevels and recrownings and bits and pieces. And we have other video series following the guitar from start to finish. So this video on the fretwork is going to be somewhat quicker and a little bit less in-depth than I normally go. However, but it's still worth watching, of course. Now, the guitar has been together in this state for a rather long time, embarrassingly, and the neck is not going to move. It's not going to cause any trouble. So I'm happy now to level the frets before the hardware and strings, etc. go on. And it also makes it easier. There's no nut, there's no pickups to catch fret swarf, etc. This is going to be, straightforward and rather rapid for you. So let us get on. The first stage before you do any masking or anything like that is to round the fret ends over. This is a shorter prototype of our rectangular fret end dressing file, and on one side it's perfectly flat to allow you to get right down to the fretboard, and the other's got a little bevel on it to allow you to round them over. Now it looks like I've actually already done this, and whether that was in film or not, I don't know. But just take the corners of each fret off and then round it over like so. Being careful not to round this top corner off. If you round that edge off, then you're effectively shortening the usable length of the fret, and that would be bad. Okay. Before we do any masking, I'm going to polish these fret ends a little bit. Essentially, the frets are the first part of the guitar, the frets in the fretboard are the first part of the guitar that are ever absolutely finished. And the fret ends are the first part of that first part, if that makes any sense. Get some very fine sandpaper. This is 30 microns, so I don't know, somewhere between 300 and 400 grit, or you can use 400 grit wet and dry. And it's wrapped around my finger as a tool, and I'm just running it in between the frets. And effectively, this is rounding the fretboard over a little bit, but it is also polishing those fret ends. It's going to give us an absolutely stunning feel when we play this instrument. Before you put the masking tape on, take a notched straight edge, preferably one we made for you, and these fit over Fender, Gibson, PRS and Jaguar scales, so most common scale lengths, and it fits over the frets and tells you if the neck is flat or not. And you should be able to see, well, there we go, you can see a gap there and a gap there, and that is because when I built this I made the fretboard perfectly flat and lovely, and then I hammered something into slots in the fretboard, and the tension of the slots has put a slight back bow on the neck, and that is all perfectly expected. And now I need to get an Allen key, and we're going to use the truss rod to give ourselves a perfectly flat fretboard. Should be the gentlest of motions. Now this neck has a 650mm scale, and of course our straight edge actually works on that. Near as damn it perfect. We start with some narrow plastic masking tape. This is, I suppose, pinstriping tape. Oh, we need to do a pinstripe guitar one day. Ooh, should I do some pinstriping on my machinery, on my bandsaw or something? That could be fun. Anyhow, a digression. Now this will help lift the masking that goes on top. And I'll do the other side, of course, in a minute. But okay, so I digressed. This tape goes up to the bottom of the fret, and when the time comes to remove the masking tape, we'll just be able to lift an end and it will hopefully come rather easily. Now push that down, and we're sorted. Until we get to about here and have to start cutting it. Now, here we go. Let's keep this all in one shot. We need 2 layers of masking tape. Use your thumbnail to run it along there so it goes right into the bottom of the fret. Or a fingernail. Any nail will do. Don't push your knife straight down like that. That will cut your fretboard, it will be visible. Don't cut directly sideways like that, that will cut your fret and it will be visible. If you find the corner in between the fret and the fretboard and go along the fret, the cut will be underneath the fret, or more likely than not actually in the gap, and you're sorted. And there's no damage, no issues with the cosmetics, because to be honest, the cosmetics are now the most important part of the build. In the design phase we covered everything. You know, we thought about strength and stability and tone and all of those things. In this closing stage of the build, the last 5%, as you were, is much more important. It's how it looks, it's how it feels and plays, but how it looks. These things can be used on the thinner frets up at the top. There you go. Once the fretboard is masked off, use a permanent marker to get some ink on the top of the frets. Do it from this side, otherwise you'll get ink on your hand. Here is a limited edition golden pressure treated ash Crimson Guitars fret leveling file, which is beautiful, and I'm unashamedly trying to sell you things. Perfectly flat and pretty and ergonomic and longer than the competition. The trick is to get that out of my way. Start with the file halfway over the edge of the fretboard and following the contour of the neck of the fretboard, the radius, go along. Small movements. Now these files work perfectly on stainless steel, and in this case a nickel silver hypoallergenic brass composite, which is very hard, harder than standard. A non-nickel silver hypoallergenic something. Although amusingly I met somebody who's allergic to nickel today and he has never had trouble playing guitar with standard frets, so what can you do? Don't put any pressure on in the middle of the neck. That would be bad. We've adjusted our fretboard to make sure it's perfectly flat, and if we do that, it will no longer be. I'm going to stop there and show you a close-up to see where the low spots are. This is a perfect example. That fret in the middle is partially still red and essentially is slightly lower than the frets on either side. And this is only natural. We hammered these in with pressure and all those things, and they are ever so slightly deformed in the process.